Hello, everyone, and welcome to our WBF panel discussion in honor of International Women's Day. My name is Carla Madra, and I'm the President and CEO of Women Building Futures. I have the pleasure of moderating today's discussion. As you may know, International Women's Day is this coming Sunday, March 8th. The theme this year is Give to Gain, which encourages an attitude of collaboration and generosity. Giving can take many forms. Obviously, you can donate money and resources to an organization that advances the women's agenda, but you can also give time, knowledge, and emotional support and mentorship. You can give by advocating for women, and you can support them to pursue a rewarding career in non-traditional fields. That's why we're here today to discuss that topic specifically. More women than ever are going to pursue careers in the trades and transportation sectors. What does that mean for job sites and employers? Let's meet our panel here today. To my far right, we first have Laura Kirby, a graduate of WBF and a journey person heavy equipment technician. She's in her work year, came straight from the job. She has worked on all types of equipment from small skid steers all the way up to giant haul trucks in the oil sands. Lena Jenkins, next here beside me, who is one of our instructors here at WBF. A journey person carpenter, Lena works with our students as they build their own pathways to economic success. Lena is in fact a graduate of our 2018 program back in the day, so thanks for being here. Next, we have Morgan Garnett. She is a Red Seal heavy equipment technician by trade, but for the past 5 years has worked in dedicated inclusion roles. Currently, Morgan is the Community and Indigenous Engagement Program Manager with Finning Canada. Thanks, Morgan. And finally, to my far left, we have Courtney Smith, Director of Talent Acquisition at Jardeg, where she leads recruitment strategies for large-scale construction and maintenance projects across Canada. So thank you to you all for being here, and welcome. We'll begin with a conversation around the table. I'll ask each of you questions, and we'll save a few minutes for the audience to participate with their own questions at the end. To the audience, you can type your questions into the chat. We might not get to all of them, but hopefully we'll do our best. And before we proceed, Aaliyah will be monitoring the questions and bringing those forward. So thank you, Aaliyah. Now let's dive in. Okay, so my first question is for Courtney. Can you tell us what a safe, inclusive worksite means to you and at Jardeg?
Sure. So in terms of a safe and inclusive worksite, I think it's one where you can see things sort of led by example, and people are walking the talk. People feel comfortable showing up, doing their work. They feel comfortable bringing things to the attention of others and know that it's going to be taken seriously. I know many of our sites have policies around, stop work or right to stop, right to call, and respecting those and putting those in place, holding people accountable for actually making those things happen. That's a big one. From my very personal perspective, the things that you can see or know when you're looking at sites or looking at individuals who are managing those sites, you can see the folks who will uphold that in the way they uphold themselves. They are willing to hold people accountable. I had a really interesting conversation the other day with someone about the difference between nice and kind. And there's nice, you can appear very nice, but the kind ones actually tend to be the folks who you might read as a little more stern. But those are the ones in charge and willing to hold everybody accountable, not only for the safe of the work, but safe of the behavior and kind of the right for everybody to be there and be included and engaged and given the tools that they need for the job.
Mm-hmm. So. I love the nice versus kind. The nice person is the one who's going to let me keep doing my work even though they see something that's unsafe. The kind person is the one who's going to look out for my safety and call me out on it.
Correct.
Really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
So really, action speaking louder than words, that environment of respect and people using their voices, and really accountability being a joint responsibility.
Absolutely.
Those were sort of my key takeaways.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Anybody else would like to?
I completely agree, and it's safety is and inclusivity is on so many different levels, and it's also feeling able to come forward without any backlash. And unfortunately, that's something that stops people from coming forward and addressing issues a lot, is the fear of what is my crew going to say, how's my boss going to react, those kinds of things.
Yeah, very, very important to have an environment where people can actually raise their voice with, and then their perspective without fear of repercussion.
Yeah.
Thank you. Morgan, what barriers do women still face entering or advancing in the trades? And what strategies have you seen effectively break down those barriers?
Yeah, I think we've come a long way in that front. There's not as many barriers as there were, but there's still, I think they're also less visible than they were in the beginning, right? I was thinking about this, that there's some conversations I'm just a little, tired of having almost on that front, but they're hard to do, right? It's around women's PPE and around washrooms and around just some of the different barriers that come in. I'd say overall, it's still our biggest gap is still, are we talking about it? Are we promoting it? I think I look back on my career, and I've had a ton of privileges in my life, but having parents who said to a 15-year-old that you could go into the trades, that you can go fix monster trucks, was I look back at that as one of my greatest privileges in life. And so I think there's a ton of work that we still have to do, that we've come a long way, and I always want to celebrate that, especially around International Women's Day. But yeah, I think the biggest systemic piece that we have is still promoting and how incredible these career paths are to women, and yeah, and then as we get more in, that tends to be the piece that starts to move the needle on a lot of things. I used to think we need to remove all those barriers before we continue bringing in women, but I've seen it change slowly as we've seen those numbers climb. That happens systemically, it happens organically throughout that when we have those voices at the table, right? So nothing about us without us, and so we can't make that change without bringing folks in, and that means promoting it and trying to encourage those, how incredible these career paths are.
So intentionality about the conversation. How do we be inclusive? As you talk about, PPE or washrooms for women, I think putting it on the agenda and always having it on the agenda to ensure that, it's being considered and thought about was something that resonated with me.
Yeah.
I think, you talk about career paths, and yeah, you went from fixing monster trucks, but now you're in a completely different role. So the opportunities are also vast, right? And you start, underneath the equipment, but now, you're doing a much different role. So I think that career progression is also something that we see a lot of with our alumni, whether it be something like you're doing or estimating, project management. There's a lot of opportunity that the trades can take you forward in. So
Totally.
yeah.
I will never not be in awe of the opportunities my ticket has afforded me.
Right.
It's been a very, very cool journey.
I'm sure it came with hard work and focus and effort as well. It's yeah, you were given a stepping stone, but yeah, I'm sure it's much attributable to who you are as a person as well. So for Lena and Laura, who supported you along the way? Who were your mentors, peers, and instructors, and how did that support shape your path? I'll let you two decide who wants to go first.
I guess I will go first with this. So my journey to this point with my career has been not linear at all. So I had a lot of support from friends who went, really? This is the direction you're going to go in? And when they realized that I had a passion for it, they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you can totally do this. And my parents and family and just anyone that I spoke to about it was really confused initially, because I went from a background where I did music performance and culinary and all these artistic things to driving semi trucks, and now I'm a mechanic. So a a lot of people were just like, that's so cool that you are going to do that. And there were some individuals who were like, I don't think you can do it. But with the individuals who question and doubt, then I showed them, because I'm still here doing it however many years later. So I just leaned a lot on my family and friends.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've been with Finning along this
Well,
journey.
yeah, this is my 6th year with Finning.
Yeah. And so has there been a particular mentor, not without naming names, but someone who in your career path you've looked to and has been a real big supporter of you, maybe at times that you doubted yourself, or, you just needed that pick-me-up, if you will, that you'd like to give thanks to as part of your success with Finning and your overall success in this career path?
So there are definitely a few that I've had through my time at Finning. One of which, when I started at Finning, I started with the Think Big program, which is kind of like the pipeline through the apprenticeship with Finning. And I went to Power Systems down in Calgary and didn't know anything about anything. And I'm suddenly working with engines that are like on truck trailers and giant. So I had one tech who is now the lead hand down there who just gave me an opportunity and just gave me a key to his toolbox and said, here you go. Ask me questions. Doesn't matter what the question is. There's no stupid questions. I'd rather you ask me something you consider to be a stupid question than blow up an engine. So he was awesome, and I still message him, and I started with him in 2020. I have a mentor at the shop that I'm currently at here in Edmonton who we kind of rib each other all the time. And sometimes like he's very blunt, but I prefer that. So if I make a mistake on something, I mean, he'll tell me very bluntly, but I really appreciate that. And then he'll say, okay, so what did we learn from this? And then we'll discuss and move forward, because everyone makes mistakes. It's just mistakes with heavy equipment are a lot more expensive and also time consuming. So we try not to, but it happens. He's been such an advocate and such an avid supporter in my progress through working at the shop that I'm currently at. And I am incredibly grateful.
Great, thank you. Lena?
Yeah, I have been very fortunate to have felt so supported along my journey. A lot of it through Women Building Futures. All of the instructors here are wonderful, but so is everyone that works here, both face-to-face with students and behind the scenes. Their belief in me quieted a lot of the self-doubt that I had early on and gave me that courage to keep going, and it mattered more to me than they probably realized. But I realized along the way that while the belief from others and that support is important, the most important one is your own. You have to back yourself. You have to believe that you can do it and that you're capable of it, even when you don't really feel like it. Because mentors can light that spark, but it's the self-belief that keeps it burning and carries you all the way through your career.
I can really resonate, and Morgan, you shared about the importance of your parents giving you this opportunity, which may be viewed as more untraditional for a young woman when you were 15. And, you spoke, Laura, about your family and people questioning you. I think irrelevant of the career path we go on, having those family members around us, supporting conversation about what do you want to be, what can you be. Well, that's traditionally not, a woman's career. Who cares, right? And having those conversations with the next generation, I think, is an important role that we can all play with our own children, with our nieces, our nephews, all of those kinds of things in community. And just as we have those opportunities, I, similar to you, had someone who opened the door and gave me an experience that was not something I should have been given, but he believed in me, again, as you say, more than I believed in myself. And the willingness to take on those opportunities and finding that self-confidence deep, I think is all messages that have really resonate with me. Lena, can you describe what you see for those with WBF women who are coming into our programs now? Obviously being an alumni, you've grown a lot in your journey, and now you're an instructor with us. So I'm sure it's a very interesting perspective as you come in and see these young women to just be on the other side, if you will. So share what you see, what do you see over time as you're working with them, and what do you think the most important thing you teach them or leave them with in your interactions with them?
Yeah. What I see in the women going through the Journey to Start program is familiar because it's a lot of what I was feeling. There's a whole mix of emotions, excitement, pride, and hope, but also hesitation and often imposter syndrome. You can really see them asking themselves, do I really belong here? Am I capable of this? In the beginning, they are very quiet, really unsure of themselves. But by graduation, it's different. They're different. Their postures change, their voices are stronger, their skills are sharper, but the most important change is the confidence shift, because they start to see themselves as tradespeople, not just women trying something new. And the technical skills matter. We teach safety, competence, professionalism. But one of the most important things that we teach and try to reinforce is that belief. Because when a woman believes that she belongs in the industry, then she moves differently. And that belief is what carries her along after the program actually ends.
Yeah, I would echo that. When we see just walking through the building, as you see our students come in, that confidence change. When I interact with them early days compared to the end, it is so apparent, and it's really a gift that you as our instructors really do instill with them, and it's really lovely to see. So thank you for that. Laura, what skills or habits were most essential in helping you succeed on the job site early on?
A lot of it, because when you're green, you don't really know anything about anything. And I will say this to apprentices that I've had work under me who are very, very green: ask questions. So don't be afraid of being asking questions. You're there to learn. And any journey person who is working with you, if you're new to the industry, if you're like a couple years in the industry, if you're a new journey person, ask questions, because it is such a disservice to yourself to not. Everyone who is working with you, if you're newer, knows that you're learning. They acknowledge that. And having the belief in yourself to show up every day. So I'm incredibly stubborn as a person. So if something doesn't really, if I don't get it right the first time, or if I'm having difficulty with a certain skill and putting it into practice, then I will get it, because I will, and I will keep showing up until I do. So that is one of the essential, I would say, facets, is just showing up, doing your best, and believing in yourself, asking a ton of questions. See, I started this career when I was in my mid-30s, so I had quite a bit of experience, and I was more into myself, true to myself, as opposed to nervous 18, not with life experience. So it was a little bit different for me. For those women who are younger, just believe in yourself and what you're doing, and know that you're learning. Everyone knows that you're learning. Ask the questions. That's the best thing that you can do early on.
Can I add to that? 'Cause
Please,
I have the immense privilege of being a journey person when Lara started in our shop as an apprentice.
Yeah.
And she was a game changer for me, even looking back on myself as an apprentice, when I was afraid to ask questions because I was afraid to admit what I didn't know. But feeling the difference of Lara being so open and curious, and she builds strong relationships, and she's not afraid to be authentic in that, was it was like a breath of fresh air of like the way that we could show up and recognizing how much more you can get out of an apprenticeship and out of the learning opportunities for doing that. And I think as a journey person, I know that it made a difference for everyone in the shop to feel like, you know, there'll be some folks where they struggle with that confidence and so they're quieter. And the minute you hear a big bang, the first thing that goes through your head is like, where is my apprentice and what are they doing right now? And there was a lot of trust with Sarah, because she was so open with asking the questions, that it was really easy for people to say, okay, we can teach more, we can like give her more like advanced opportunities because of this, like the way that she shows up, and that I trust that she knows what I need her to know because she's asking the questions and getting really curious. So yeah, you are incredibly good at that.
Cool,
And,
thank you.
Game changer.
That's a lovely little share here, so thank you for that. You know, I think persistence is a virtue, as they say, and you know, that constant asking of questions. And you raise a very good point about the concept of the bang, or the, you know, the safety risk, right? Those questions, when not asked, can create a risk for yourself and or your colleagues. So I think asking those questions, not only to save money, as you said, they can be expensive mistakes, but also for the well-being and safety of everyone is really critical.
Yes.
And so I think an important piece, and as they say, curiosity kills the cat, right? So, you know, staying curious, I think, in all things in life is important as we grow and develop as wholesome humans, let alone in our area of work.
And another thing to add to that, just in terms of safety, when you're starting out brand new, you don't know what you don't know until you
Ignorance
ask.
is bliss, right?
Right?
Yes.
So, like, there are so many instances, and I still learn every day. There are so many things where I don't know what I don't know, but how do I not know what
do
I
you know
don't
what you're
know? Like,
supposed to know?
until you ask, right? Until you gain that experience. So it's like, am I in an unsafe situation doing this task? I don't know, because I've never done it before. So that's when you lean on people with more experience. So that is definitely something that I need to stress to people starting out.
Absolutely.
It's important on that to have leadership that understands that and gives you the grace, and that you give yourself the grace to ask maybe silly questions or make mistakes, because when you're afraid to ask, or you have an angry employer on site or someone that puts you down for not knowing these things, that really makes a huge difference on your ability to learn.
So the openness, the creating the space for those conversations to happen,
Absolutely.
I think is, yeah.
Very important.
And I think having the courage, which comes from that confidence, to say, you know what, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm going to ask, because I don't want to put myself or someone else in harm's way. And if someone's, you know, a little persnickety about it or grumpy about it, you know, having the confidence to say I'm doing the right thing for myself and my colleagues. So I think absolutely of utmost importance, and thanks for bringing that up. Courtney and Morgan, so both Jardig and Finning are part of our WBF Employer of Choice program. And so, you know, that's a program that really is about inclusivity of women and others of diversity into workplaces. And we really appreciate both organizations and their commitment to that program. Tell us what that looks like for you in practice at each of your respective organizations, and how you continue to push the diversity agenda forward, particularly for the tradespeople.
I'd say there's a ton of pride across Finning of being an employer of choice for Women Building Futures. I look back, and I actually worked for Women Building Futures and was a partner, and Finning was one of our employer of choice partners. And so when I went back on the tools, I wanted to work for a company that was doing really cool stuff in this space. And knowing how we work with, how this organization works with, was like, I want to go to one that is partnering with this organization, right?
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah. It's very cool. But I'd say, like, even watching that grow from like when I went there and seeing the way that the reputation of Women Building Futures, I'd say it was like known in pockets, but now I feel like it's known across the whole organization. And then I look back, and it's really changed the game a bit too, from like that perspective of, I think with the first, there was a lot of like learning curves, but again, it's kind of changed the way we look at our employment programs in general and who we partner with, because it's been such a privilege to work with WBF on like, if we do hit a barrier, when we talked earlier about the different challenges that women face, sometimes we don't always know them coming in. So we can remove as many barriers as we can, but there's still always that unique scenario where like something comes up, and knowing that we have that wraparound support, that it's not just us, it's like we have this support system, this network to support this employee coming in. It gives us the confidence to say we can figure it out, we can figure anything out. And there's been lots of scenarios too, and I'd say probably a lot of our earlier alumni, there was a big learning curve of figuring things out, but again, we learned and we grew from it. And now I think it's easier, and now we have that reputation within the organization of how great the alumni come out. So it's really easy now for us to go and say, hey, we want to hire, and you know, we have our hiring managers asking to hire WBF grads, which is very, very cool. And yeah, I'd say it's been you know, not only are we proud of it, but it's also helped make us a more inclusive organization over the years too, which has been very cool.
Great. And yourself?
Excellent answer.
Courtney,
So,
thanks.
you know, ditto. But to add on to that, I would say what it means in practice for JARDIG. I mean, one of the biggest things that I would call out is WBF truly is, it's a strategy at the table with our clients. So when we sit down year over year, kind of season over season, to talk about what we're doing to move the needle, to bring them, you know, skilled trades and strong craft and manpower, WBF is right there in our strategy. It's something that we commit to. It's also something we ask them to commit to as well, though, right? So we're not just going to say this is what we do and who we partner with. We're asking them to make room. So how are you making room? Show us which positions kind of you're holding for WBF grads, for other stakeholders and partners that we work with that supports diversity and inclusion. And it has to be a reciprocal conversation at that table, because otherwise it's just something on a paper. We go away, we hire what they need for, and you know, it may fall flat. So it is an active conversation that we ask for their commitment to. So in practice, that is what it looks like for us. But I think the other thing I was thinking about with this question is, in reality, it's just those exact words. People are choosing us. So before we even say, you know, we're working with WBF as an employer of choice, you have to know that you're an employer that people are going to choose. And I think this industry, and I've been in this industry for probably 15 years, it's got the best grapevine around, right? Word of mouth is really truly how things get spoken about and decided, and in proof, you know that you're an employer of choice when you're going out there and working with recruitment and attraction, and you're picking up the phone and talking to people, and they are receptive and engaged and wanting to work for you, because they already know whether they want to work for you or not, based on what's already been spoken about in the industry. And it ties back to everything we've already been speaking about, which is that safety, that actual inclusivity, the how people are being treated on those sites, that everyone's being offered equal opportunity to grow and progress, and you're not just showing up on site because you've been made a spot for, but you're the first one to leave, right? There's that growth and opportunity, and people know. They know probably before even sometimes my team or we do what in reality is going on at some of these places. So you do have to walk the talk, and if you're an employer of choice, it's because you've built yourself up to be already. So,
Well, we appreciate JARDIG's support in terms of not only you supporting us as an organization, but you encouraging others to consider us as part of their hiring strategy. We have an opportunity to engage with women like many other organizations don't. And so, you know, our ability to bring talent to industry is really part of our value proposition and the great work that we can do, ensuring those women are set up for success in terms of their life, and prepared to be dedicated and effective employees. So we appreciate that, and we hope we're in turn delivering great value to both Finning and JARDIG in the work that we do.
I think it's so easy to look at a Finning and a JARDIG and think these are giant companies, and so they're doing it, and so they get to be part of this program, and they get to but really the assurance that WBF gives is that like progress over perfection piece. So I'm like, even if you're a smaller company looking for it, and so I love that you talk about it in industry too, because it's like it's not wait until you're ready, it's start, and this is the organization you want to start with.
Absolutely, I fully agree with that. And you said that before, the whole like don't wait, just put it in practice and keep pushing. Like this industry, it does reward grit and it does reward resilience, right? So you can't wait until everything's perfectly ready and then go.
Yeah,
you gotta just
doesn't come
keep
without the diversity.
moving. And I gotta say, like everybody here, like what amazing folks you can already tell just by how they're answering these questions. Like you can tell that either they've been told they have the right to be here or something in themselves has delivered them the ability to know they have the right to be in the room or in the jobs that they're in. And like, can't we do that for all women? Like that's amazing.
Yeah, you know, lots of mountains to move, if you will.
Right.
But I think, you know, the trades, you know, there is an element of evolution that we do see happening, and you know, it does take time, but we're happy to be part of the conversation with employers around the employer choice program and how do you be more inclusive? What are the issues that women are facing across industry to help you deal with them if they're not an issue on your job site yet, but proactively,
Correct.
and nip it in the bud before, you know, it is even an issue potentially. All right. So where are we at here? So for Lena, what barriers do women still face entering or advancing in the trades, and what strategies have you seen effective in breaking down those barriers?
One barrier that I've seen and experienced, I think, is credibility being assumed differently. On many job sites, men often start out with a baseline of trust and respect for and from each other, while women frequently have to prove themselves first before that is extended to them. It's not always intentional, but it's real, and that gap matters. It affects who gets heard, who gets opportunities, who's seen as leadership material. Personally, I've learned that you can't wait to be included into the conversation. You need to be clear, direct, and confident about your skills and your goals. Not aggressive, but unapologetic about your value. But the real solution isn't about women adjusting. It's about leaders being intentional.
I like that.
Yeah, the talent doesn't have a gender, but opportunity often does, and we're trying to close that gap.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about being intentional, being purposeful, communicating what you bring to the table, what your goals and objectives are, to own and shape your own career. It's, I think, really important advice for everyone. I think you made something really prominent there, which was women sort of changing job sites. And so I want to wrap up with one question before we open the question to the floor, which is, how do you see women on job sites changing job site culture? Morgan?
I spoke, like, my example with Lara earlier, like, when, you know, thinking about this question, that is it. It's a game changer. Like, I spent my whole career being one or two of women in shops of 100 men. And every single thing felt like, oh, I can't get this wrong. And every near miss was like, oh no, I can't be the girl who did that, right? Because it's like the weight was so heavy. And I went on a maternity leave and I came back and Lara was there as an apprentice, but there were also 6 other female apprentices at the time, and then another journey woman at the same time. So now there's 8 of us, and we have a locker room, and just the weight of everything felt less, and you could feel the change in the shop. Like the things the guys talk about is like a lot more vulnerable than it was before, and so the way that translates to psychological safety, and the way that it translates to, like, you know, just having the numbers of, like, it just absolutely, and we learn with each one, I'd say, and grow. And so that is like, it's changing everything. And it's like, you can, coming from that gap and coming back, like the difference is palpable. You can feel it in the culture in the shop.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Courtney?
In terms of how
having women as part of the job sites or in the
Yeah.
trades changes the culture of the site or the?
I think it's, it's such a huge thing. I really am a believer that there are things that women do well that maybe others do not. And so I think the proof is sort of in the pudding. When you have women in positions, not only in the trades, but moving up through leadership and safety positions, 4-person lead hand. We've got directors of operations over some of these large workforce sites that are women, and you can see that things are just spoken about differently and advocated for differently. And this might sound kind of counterintuitive, but I believe that the ones that have done the work where you can feel the work are the ones where you either walk on the site or into that meeting. And the first thing you notice is not that you're a woman, in the sense that it's a barrier you have to overcome to then be part of the rest of the things you need to overcome with the rest of the workforce on site, right? Mm-hmm. You all have to learn, you all have to grow, you all have to deal with clients that change their mind, that stop work, start work, don't have materials ready. And on top of that, not needing to overcome the being a woman part, where you're talking about having a right to ask questions, make mistakes, being treated differently, being spoken to differently, included in different conversations. To me, that's how you can tell the culture's changing, because it's not something you have to actively work through as a woman in that meeting, on that site, with those individuals. You're just there, kind of belonging with the right to be there. So that's how I measure it. I tell all of my team, you don't have to ask for permission. Sure, it feels nice to be invited and to be included or asked to come, but please don't ever think you need to be invited to be included. You show up, you have value, you have a right to be there automatically. So
Great, thank you. So Laura, this one comes to you from the floor. Do you have to be really strong to do your job?
No. So, I have the privilege of working with 10 and 15 ton overhead cranes. And if I'm outside working, then there's service trucks that have cranes as well. I'm very fortunate that I can ask anyone in the shop for help. So if I'm struggling with something, it's really awkward or whatnot, and it's kind of heavy maneuvering something into place, I can ask anyone on the shop floor, one of the guys would be like, hey, can you help me? And they'll come over and they'll help right away if they're not doing anything critical. So one of the things I do have to say about that, though, is that you do build a lot of strength over time, because you're going to be just working in awkward positions, you're going to be handling things, you're going to be torquing things, and the difference between how I was when I started and how I am now, my partner is like, whoa, you're so strong. I'm like, I was giving you a hug, I'm sorry. So you don't have to be strong, because you'll gain strength and you have the tools that you're not expected to lift more than 40 pounds at fitting.
Great.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Lots of mechanical advantage.
Yes.
Lots of lever length.
So I'm going to leave you all with one final question, and that is, if there was a woman who is watching this or, was a future student potentially at WBF, what one piece of advice would each of you give them about wanting to make a change to the trades? And I'll let you guys decide who wants to go first.
I would say just do it. You can do it. You need to have that faith in yourself. Tell them that it's not too late to make a change. You're not too old to start something new. All those voices that are telling you that you can't do it, those aren't your own. You need to find out what really drives you, what your passions are, what you really want to make from yourself, and do it for yourself. Don't let doubt stop you from trying.
Yeah, I really-
Perseverance, yeah.
I
Right.
love Lena's, like, even that piece of, that it has to come from you at the end of it. It has to come from your confidence and your willingness to believe in yourself. Because at the end of the day, yeah, all those people are going to be proud of you for doing it, but it's you that's going to have to get out of bed at 4:30 in the morning and go to site when it's minus 40, right? And so it's not always easy, but like, man, everything you give this career, it will give you back in spades, right? So yeah, but that confidence and that resiliency that you talked about,
If
like,
nothing else, do it out of spite.
yeah. Do it though. Do
Everyone
it.
tells you you can't do it, you show them and you show up and you do it. Yeah, the best thing you could do is just jump in, both feet, and just go, because you will surprise yourself with how much you can do. And you will command respect out of the people in the shop, at the workplace, and they'll remember you.
You'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Courtney, anything you see from a recruitment perspective to add in closing?
Well, definitely do it, as we've all said. I mean, if you want to talk numbers, I mean, Alberta's going to need like 60,000 new trades in the next 10 years because 43,000 of them are set to retire. So where else are we going to get individuals from? And I love how you spoke about you used to be this person who was doing, was it like music and creative stuff? And I think we're shifting in the world where you can do a career that's going to make you happy, not a career that has just been expected of you based on who you are, what family you grew up in, what culture you grew up in. And if trades are going to make you happy, and if you're going to be good at it, like, truly, we know there's good trades and bad trades out there. And if you're going to be a good trade, you're going to be a safe trade, an effective trade. And that's really, truly, that's the most important. And if you're going to make that decision because you know it excites you, please do it. People are going to see that. They're going to want you back. They're going to keep bringing you back over the folks who are there, not excited or interested or willing to learn or kind of take that feedback. So,
Yeah.
as you all said, just do it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you see it a lot. Like, your skills are more transferable than you think.
And it was brought
Yeah.
up to Lara about strength, but strength in this industry isn't just physical. It's technical ability and
Correct.
endurance and problem solving and safety awareness. And women are demonstrating these every single day on job sites. And like she said, you gain a lot of the strength just by working and going through it. So no one goes out knowing how to do this right off the bat. No one starts out learning how to, or knowing how to read a tape measure or work with these tools. All of it's learned. And if they can do it, so can anybody else.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
promise you're more ready than you think you are.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, thank you to our WBF marketing and communications team for making this event happen. It's been great to have all four of you here, and I appreciate the perspectives that you've shared and just the thought-provoking insight that we can each take away. And finally, we offer our gratitude to the viewers who joined today. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. And I'm hopeful today's conversation will challenge each of you on how you will give to gain. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.